to Good, the podcast for those that do. This is Shivo. I'm here with my friend D-Fran. Mike?
Shadow, what's happening, buddy?
Not too much. How are you doing today?
I am doing fantastic on this beautiful Michigan March morning.
Oh, yeah. It's not too bad over here in New York either.
Crazy that both of us are in two different states that we didn't grow up in. Well, at least one of us is usually back somewhere or was.
Yeah, but very true. All right, so
cool.
Tell everybody what we have in store for today.
So today we're diving into one of the most badass book titles that I've ever read. I mean, it ranks up there with the top tier of just hardcore titles. Extreme Ownership, written by Jocko Willink and Leif Babin. Now, is it going to be a book report line by line? No, but I heard Jocko speak on Tim Ferriss's podcast, which if you don't already listen to that, it's not for everybody, but there's some really good stuff on there and really interesting people. And one of them was Jocko Willink. So Jocko comes on and he's got this like hardcore, like just your typical Navy SEAL. When you hear him, you're picturing some guy that's like shitty little, but I know what he looks like, right? And so he's going on and on talking about extreme ownership. And I mean, Shiva, did you ever listen to that podcast?
I have not listened to that episode, no.
Man, before this, I really should have had you do it because the way he describes ownership and why you do it and giving the examples and used in combat of where it worked and how it fit, he was just really, really inspirational. And so I bought his book, and that's probably exactly why he went on Tim Ferriss's podcast.
Oh, yeah.
Book. But he hit a home run with me, man, and a lot of what he said stuck with me. A lot of, things about intent and doing things with a purpose and owning what you do. And, owning your successes just like you're the failures. And I'm sure we'll dabble into that a little bit more. But after I read the book, obviously I talked to you about various different books. So I was like, you know what, this is right down your alley. And sure enough, it was. So I think I'm 2 for 2. I got Serial, got you hooked. And, Jocko with the Extreme Ownership. So
yeah, two things that I've taken off and run with.
So I don't know. We've taken a few things from Jocko. I don't know if we can do the 4 a.m. watch picture while you're in the gym, but that guy. For anyone who doesn't know, so Jocko has a Twitter account. I want to say almost every morning when he's in the gym, he just takes a picture of this like traditional Navy SEAL watch. So you're not wearing this thing for flash, hardcore watch, and it'll say 4 o'clock or 4:30 or never later than 5.
Yeah.
And he's either like in a hotel gym or his hotel room or his house or wherever he is, and it's just like, this guy's committed. He's 40-something years old. Have you ever seen what he looks like?
Oh yeah, he's badass.
It's
just
like
chiseled jaw. I mean, he is every bit Navy
It's like
SEal.
if Kurt Angle had like a baby. I'm not gonna ruin it, man. It's just Jocko's a badass dude, and to be like 40-something years old and just
kill it like
that. Had that dedication to be like day in and day out.
Yep.
His big thing is discipline equals freedom, and if we touch on anything, I think that's the most important thing we harp on because it is so true. I'll give you some real life examples just last week of discipline equals freedom and how that works out. So
let's hear it.
Go for it now.
I mean, yeah, we'll wait. All right, so let's talk about the book title in and of itself, Extreme Ownership. Tell everybody what that's about.
I don't know if it's got to be extreme. I think everything is extreme because they're all, Navy SEALs.
Yeah.
But I don't know if the title has to be Extreme Ownership. I think what he's really trying to say is dedicated ownership or committed ownership, or something where you're not letting go of the idea that you're going to own everything that happens, that you are in control of, or that you are in command of, or you are a part of. If there's some way that you could own something, and you should own it, then do it. I don't think he's an advocate of owning everything and owning things that were unrelated to you, because that's not right. But I think what he's saying is that if you're part of a team, or you're at an event, or wherever you are, if something happens that, is out of your control, you can control what's around you. And I think that ownership is what he's really harping on, more so than, saying, hey, everything that happens, you gotta own. I don't know how to really put that, but
It's a lot of the idea of ownership is when you have, a controversy, or you face a problem or something like that, instead of pushing the blame onto somebody else, or, coming up with an excuse, oh, it wasn't my fault, these other things happened. It's just saying, you know what, I messed up, and I'm going to learn from it, and I'm going to get better. And that's what the ownership piece of it is just manning up and taking responsibility for the things that you've done, good or bad. And nothing bad is going to come from it, because you're better off just being upfront with somebody initially, instead of coming up with some dumb excuse and then finding out later. Like, an example for myself is maybe like a month or so ago, I had a very minor fender bender on my car, and I dented up the front wheel well pretty good. And I'm thinking, oh my God, my stepdad's going to kill me. He's a mechanic. He's going to just be absolutely furious when he sees this. And I'm like, all right, this is what I'm going to do. I'm not going to tell him. And next time I go home and they see it, I'm just going to say, oh, in the weather, I slid a little bit. I hit something. And I thought, no one's going to believe that. Jocko wouldn't do that. He would just tell him. And so I just called him up and said, hey, look, this thing happened. Not that big of a deal. No one was mad. No one cared. But if I had waited 2 months and then come up with some BS excuse, and then come to find out he doesn't buy it, then I look like an idiot. So, it can be something as little as that, or it can be something as big as a work problem.
Yeah, no, I think at the end of the day, when you don't own something, what you're doing is you're trying to find a way not to take blame for something that, whether or not you controlled that it happened.
Right.
And that's the whole, I think the whole story behind it really is that, I had this opportunity now to say, own it. Because the sooner you own it, the sooner you can address it. And the more people, I've been practicing thinking about what the other person is going to say when you own it.
Yeah.
Because you always think about what they're going to say if they found out you did it.
Right.
And it happened. So do you want to spend your time hoping that someone doesn't find out something happened, or fixing and rectifying something that happened to get it over with and done with? I mean, one thing is lasting a lot longer than the other.
Correct.
So, in the first year, I guess you're assuming that's going to be going forever. In the second scenario, you're hoping this ends, in 2 weeks or however long it takes. So I just think that it's more, it gets back to what Jocko talks about. He goes, we had administrative work to do. We had a ton of this work to do. We would volunteer to do that first. And we would do that the first because we hated it. And we would get that done and off our plate, and then we do the things that we wanted to do. And, I think owning something and owning it as soon as it happens up front just gives you more time to get it out of the way. Certainly. And focus on what you really want to do.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. All right. So let's start getting into this book. Do you want to start with the Navy SEAL code? Do you have that up?
Yeah, I'm actually pulling it up right now.
Okay.
Wait, there it is. So yeah, this warrior code is pretty badass. I'm gonna scroll down a little bit here. Here we go. United States. All right, so ready?
Right.
I'm gonna read. Yeah, I'll read the whole thing.
Yeah.
There's some pretty good parts in it. So, all right, United States Navy SEALs. In times of war or uncertainty, there's a special breed of warrior ready to answer our nation's call. A common man with uncommon desire to succeed. A common man with uncommon desire to succeed. I love it. Forged by adversity, he stands alongside America's finest special operations forces to serve his country, the American people, and to protect their way of life. I am that man. Doesn't really feel right to say that, but I'm not. My trident is a symbol of honor and heritage bestowed upon me by the heroes that have gone before. It embodies the trust of those I have sworn to protect. By wearing the trident, I accept my responsibility, the responsibility of my chosen profession and the way of life. It is a privilege that I must earn every day. My loyalty to country and team is beyond reproach. I humbly serve as a guardian to fellow Americans, always ready to defend those who are unable to defend themselves. I do not advertise the nature of my work, nor seek recognition for my actions. I voluntarily accept the inherent hazards of my profession, placing the welfare and security of others before my own. I serve with honor on and off the battlefield. The ability to control my emotions and my actions, regardless of circumstance, sets me apart from other men. Uncompromising integrity is my statement. My character and honor are steadfast. My word is my bond. We expect to lead and be led. In the absence of orders, I will take charge, lead my teammates, and accomplish the mission. I lead by example in all situations. I will never quit. I preserve and strive in adversity. My nation expects me to be physically harder and mentally stronger than my enemy. If knocked down, I will get back up every time. I will draw on every remaining ounce of strength to protect my teammates and accomplish our mission. I am never out of the fight. We demand discipline. We expect innovation. The lives of my teammates and the success of our mission depend on me, my technical skill, tactical proficiency, and attention to detail. My training is never complete. We train for war and fight to win. I stand ready to bring the full spectrum of combat power to bear in order to achieve my mission and the goals established by my country. The execution of my duties will be swift and violent when required, yet guided by the very principles that I serve to defend. Brave men have fought before and died before me, building in this proud tradition of fear reputation that I am bound to uphold. In the worst conditions, the legacy of my teammates steadies my resolve and silently guides my every deed. I will not fail. Bravo. Let's all live up to the wonderful code of conduct. And it's just so I will not fail, I believe is how it ends, which is also pretty badass.
Yeah.
But man, dude, I mean, look, some of that I think is really geared towards, actually being a SEAL. But man, there is some just incredible lines that if you just say that to yourself every day, I mean.
Yeah, the pieces of it, there's a lot of really good concepts. Without orders, I will stand up and lead, and I'll lead by example all the time. That's what being a leader is, and that's what it should be about. And and it really does a good job kind of leading into what we'll talk about from the book and breaking down some of the different chapters. We won't go through everything. That will take way too long. But one of the first things I want to point out is a line from the book. It reads, "It mandates that a leader set aside ego, accept responsibility for failure, attack weaknesses, and consistently work to build a better and more effective team. Such a leader, however, does not take credit for his or her team's successes, but bestows that honor upon his subordinate leaders and team members. And so, kind of like what we talked about last episode about the ego, you're putting it aside and you're giving credit to the people that you led. And that's going to increase your morale, and that's going to make you look better in the long run. But that's how you lead effectively. In a one couple quick sentences, I think that does a really good job explaining that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so, all right, I'm going to start diving into the book. I want to talk about chapter 3 of Extreme Ownership, called Believe.
Mm-hmm.
So from the book, in order to convince and inspire others to follow and accomplish the mission, a leader must be a true believer of that mission. So in any scenario, whether it's work or you're an athlete or you're a soldier, whatever the task you have to do or whatever project you're working on, as the leader of it, you need to believe in it. And you need to, because if you don't believe in it, the people under you are going to be able to tell. And
sure,
if you don't believe in it and someone above you is saying this is what you need to do, and you don't think it's the right idea, or you think it could be done better than the way you need to do it, or that you're being told to do it, in order to gain that belief, you need to ask why. And if they cannot determine a satisfactory answer themselves, you must question up the chain of command until you understand. If you don't understand why, you can't move forward, and you won't ever truly be committed to what you're doing, and you won't do it as well as you would before.
You know what I think is important, though, about the belief thing is also, if I'm listening to this, right, and I'm hearing you guys talk about leadership or owning something, what if I'm not a leader? What if I don't want to be a leader? I'm not a leader. I like doing my own thing and working my own type of, at my own pace.
Right.
Typically, you're led by someone, and you don't mind being led by someone. So I think one of the things that I focus on is thinking about, all right, well, how do leaders think, and how can I work within that thought process? How can, and so that's what I think, someone might be able to get out of a book like Jack or this podcast is looking into and saying, okay, this is how good leadership is supposed to be run.
Right.
And I can see why I didn't like that past leadership, because this owner, or, this manager, whoever, didn't own shit. They passed it on to me every single time, or they passed the buck, and it didn't make anyone feel good. And I can see now what type of leader or manager or boss or whatever you want to call them, I can see what I'm looking for now, because that's the type of owner or leader I want to be led by. Even in that Navy SEAL creed, it's, we lead, we expect to lead and be led.
Right.
So, being led and understanding what good leadership is, I think, is really important.
Right. And everyone, very few instances is there no one above you in life or in work or anything.
Sure.
So you always have to expect to be led by someone, and understanding that leadership, it goes both ways. There is a chapter in this book that I'll talk about in a little bit, leading up and down the chain of command, is that just because you're on bottom, it doesn't mean you can't influence what happens up that chain, and not everything runs downhill all the time. So understanding that idea and thinking, even though I'm pretty low on this and there's, X number of people that are higher than me at this company, I can still make a difference, and I can still lead by example in what I do, and affect change. And so concepts like that can go a long way. But actually, we can just dive right into that chapter right now, since we're talking about it. So it's chapter number 10, leading up and down the chain of command. From the book, as a leader employing extreme ownership, if your team isn't doing what you need them to do, you first have to look at yourself. Rather than blame them for not seeing the strategic picture, you must figure out a better way to communicate it to them in terms that are simple, clear, and concise, so that they understand. This is what leading down the chain of command is. Instead of blaming others, instead of complaining about the bosses, I had to take ownership of the problem and lead. This includes leading the leaders above me in our chain of command. So major factors to be aware of when leading up or down the chain of command. Take responsibility for leading everyone in your world, subordinates and superiors alike. If someone isn't doing what you want or need them to do, look in the mirror first and determine what you can do to better enable it. And don't ask your leader what you should do. Tell them what you're going to do. And I think that last point is the best way to lead from the bottom. And leading up the chain is obviously your boss has a general idea of what you're supposed to be doing. And so if you have a question or you have an idea of how you want to do something, you're going to look a lot better if you go up to them and say, hey, this is the plan that I have. This is how this is how I want to do it. Instead of going up all the time and saying, hey, how do you want me to do this? I'm not sure. Because that's going to make you look like you are unsure. You don't know what you're doing. Whereas if you can go to them with an outlined plan saying, this is what I've been thinking about, and just run it past them first, then you're like, oh yeah, he really knows what's going on. He knows what he's doing. And then that's how you're going to lead from the bottom.
Yeah.
So,
the one part I think that we definitely should touch on, which I know we talked about, was there's not bad teams, just bad leaders.
Right.
I mean, I think that was the part of the book. Yeah, you're feeling the book's out, right? You read the first chapter. He's talking about fratricide. He's talking about, he kicks the book off with this awful situation to be in. Who would ever want to be in a position where they have to own the injury or death of one of your teammates? That's not even possible in my job, but I couldn't imagine it. But in any event, that second chapter on no bad teams, only bad leaders was so good. And the highlighted story of it is, and I'm a junkie for reading books like The Lone Survivor and I've read a few other ones, American Sniper, No Easy Day. These books that talk a lot about SEAL training. I love it. Part of me is like, I feel like I got enough mental power to fucking through it. And even though I know I can't, I fantasize about it. So he goes through, he's talking about, the boats where you get a team of about, I think it's a team of 4. It may be a team of 6.
I think it's 6.
I think it's 6. So you have a team of 6 and you have one team leader. Typically they're trying to, be an officer, or they may be coming from a ROTC program or something like that, but they're going to be the team leader. And you got to do all these different, carry this boat down the beach, up this hill, down this hill, everyone got to get in the boat, paddle it out, get out of the boat, get back in the boat, flip the boat, all this shit, right? And then they race, and whoever finishes last has to, get wet and sandy and run 10 miles on the beach. So it sucks. And, the one team doesn't have to. So this one team just kept finishing first. And the other team kept finishing, towards the bottom every single time. So they switched the leaders. And I want to take a step back. It wasn't a coincidence that was happening. The team
right.
that was finishing first, they worked together. I think they mentioned that the guy that was on that team was a smaller guy anyway, the leader. And when you're a smaller guy on a boat team, it sucks because, the taller guys, they have a little bit more leverage and they're bigger. But when you're a small guy, a lot more weight is on you to, hold that thing up when you're running with it. So small guys aren't as valuable. And, but they led the team. They all worked together and positioned themselves in a good way to everyone was leading. It wasn't just you take orders from me, you do this, you do that. Everyone individually was leading together. Not to sidetrack from the book, but Coach K always talks about, instead of being 5 fingers, be a fist. each one of my fingers is working and leading towards a single goal, making a fist. But they're all doing their own job. The thumb is coming over the, so on and so forth. And that's really the idea there. Whereas the other team that was terrible and finishing at the bottom, it was almost a dictatorship where the one leader who probably was more athletic but just wasn't able to command his troops struggled to get them to be successful. And they weren't a talented team, but still he struggled to get them to be successful. So they switched. Had the guy who was a good leader come down to the bad team, and they had a guy who now all of a sudden he got talent. Now he's got all this talent, and he got a chance to lead, which he does. And the guy with the good leader with the unrecognized talent, or the good leader with the team that wasn't doing so good, ended up winning. And, I was like finishing second. I know it was something like above.
They finished second.
They finished second, and I think maybe the other guy's team finished first, but they did it again, and I think he finished second again. The idea is that that team drastically improved.
So what happened? What happened was the boat crew that was usually losing, that got the good leader, they they won the race. And then the boat crew that had been winning, that got the bad leader, came in second. And so I think a really good point from this is that it says in the book, the boat crew that got second, the leader was just absolutely ecstatic. He was pumped up. He went from a team that had lost every single race to the team that got second. And so he's ecstatic. But at the same time, he's looking at his former team saying, you guys, yesterday we were terrible. And now you just beat the team that has been getting first every single time.
Yeah.
And so that's when in the book, Jocko comes to the point where he says, there's no bad teams, only bad leaders.
No, it's exactly
right. Right.
That's exactly what it is. And you can see that. I look at my job and my manager, and I can see how he would be perceived by someone else to not be a good manager. He's really abrasive, a little bit upfront. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And one thing I learned from this book is to understand how people like to lead. I think getting a blueprint of, in my mind, that is the best leadership and ownership you could have. So what he describes, how he progresses through it, the examples and application of business that he gives, I really think that gives me a template of, okay, this is not only the leadership that I want to give to someone, but this is also the type of leadership that I want to be led by.
Right.
But how do you know what type of leadership? If you've had bad leadership your whole life, your best leaders were still bad. So I think reading this book and looking at or listening to, that's exactly what I'm looking for.
Right.
That's exactly what I wish my manager would do. That's when you know, okay, when they ask you a job interview, what do you look for? This is what I'm looking for. You know now.
Exactly.
So just a quick side note there.
Exactly. And if you're in a situation where you may have bad leadership, but you've been consuming content like this where you know what good stuff is, what good leadership is, you can in turn affect change leading from the bottom. And it might not be the easiest thing in the world, and you're gonna have to be kind of covert about it, as Jocko would say. But that can happen. It can certainly happen. It may take a little bit of time, and you just gotta try not to ruffle too many feathers in the process. So let's go with, we talked a lot about ego in the last episode.
Sure.
I don't think we need to drill on that too much, putting aside ego.
Agreed.
And that's going to help you lead better. Next chapter I want to talk about is chapter number 6, simple. from the book. Simplifying as much as possible is crucial to success. When plans are too complicated, people may not understand them. And when things go wrong, and things will go wrong, complexity compounds issues that will spiral out of control into disaster. Plans and orders must be communicated in a manner that is simple, clear, and concise. Everyone that is part of the mission must know and understand his or her role and what to do in the event of a likely contingency. I think that's great. I think a lot like that.
Yep.
You don't want to have protocol after protocol after protocol that's going to simply just confuse your staff. And keeping things short and sweet and to the point. Some may say it's easy or it's too simple, but sometimes it's the best way to do it. And if everyone understands what to do and everyone does it well, how can you argue with the likely results that will happen from it?
I mean, you're spot on, dude.
Right.
That's exactly
right. And then, so I think something that plays into that concept of simplicity is a characteristic of a leader is attentive to details but not obsessed by them. You, as a leader, you can't be the person that's worried about every tiny little piece. You need to see the big picture. You need to delegate those little pieces out to your staff, and then it'll all come together as one with you overseeing everything. And if you as the leader get bogged down by those tiny details, you're going to be too distracted by that one little thing to see the big picture, and then that's when things are going to start to fall apart.
No, I mean, at the end of the day, when it starts to crumble, I mean, it's too late, right?
Right.
You know, so you have to be able to. I think that it just goes back to thinking more on a consistent level of every single day. You know, it's not hard to do it. I mean, I always it's like a Jeff Olson thing, right? It's not hard to do, and it just takes courage to do.
Right.
You know, like when you don't want to own something, and it's so you can see I'll just say this, and no one will, know that I'm not owning this.
Right.
Oh, I'm sorry I'm late to the meeting today. I was stuck in traffic. No, just own it. Hey, sorry I'm late to the meeting today. I got a late jump getting up, and it took me a little bit longer to get ready than I thought.
Yeah.
I
hit snooze one too many times.
Would you ever say to someone? Probably not. But it's so easy to. And I mean, there's, reasons why I guess you want to save face and not look like a total schmuck. But, I feel like people would appreciate honesty sometimes.
Certainly.
Just appreciate you saying, hey, at the end of the day, I slept and I overslept.
Yeah, you'll look better. People will respect you more with that type of honesty and being upfront.
Yep.
Good stuff. All right. What do you got?
So I went on that vein of the teams, right, and going that direction.
Yeah.
I wanted to highlight, he has a part 1 and a part 2, right? He breaks it down to what's called, winning the war within and the laws of combat, right? So I think the most important part for me is, that cover, move, simple, prioritize, execute, demand. That's something I feel that everyone's going to do a tad bit differently. Obviously, there's the overall feeling like, hey, there's a reason why we cover and move. There's a reason why we keep things simple. There's a reason why we prioritize and then execute, which I hope that you touch on at some point.
Yeah.
Because or maybe I can, but yeah. So I'll tell a story. So, discipline equals freedom is the big piece of what I took from Jocko. And here's an example of what that means. So I wake up at 5 o'clock every morning, and I think it was Monday. Monday this week, I want to get up at 5. I was like, all right, I don't have to do anything until about 8 o'clock. So I got 3 hours. So I know I have some dishes. I can do the dishes tomorrow at night. This is the night before. I can do the dishes this way. House is all clean, and I'll wake up, walk the dog, and I'll start working. I'll go to the gym, and by 8 o'clock, I'll have walked the dog, ate a good breakfast, went to the gym, and and started working by 8 o'clock. I was pumped. I'm like, I can do that in 3 hours. That's very, very possible. Well, it's like 8 o'clock, 8:30. I'm like, I gotta do the dishes. I gotta do the dishes. I gotta do my laundry. I gotta do my dishes. Oh man. So I ended up just putting it off. I had the discipline to get up and do it. I would have done it. So when I get up and feeling bad that I didn't do any of it, I kind of just organized it. So I'm like, it'll make it easier. Like tomorrow morning, I'll just come down and I'll bust it out and I'll be done. So that was what I tricked myself to believe. And I wake up the next morning. I still have laundry to do. I'm like, oh, okay, no problem. We'll take 2 seconds. That ate up like 15 minutes. I had to, still do those dishes, which took about 15 minutes. And now 5 o'clock, which, turned into like 5:05 because I didn't have the discipline to just get up. Now all of a sudden it's about 5:30 and I'm still in what I woke up in with a load of laundry and some dishes that are barely, just got done. So now I'm like, man, I just burned a half hour. But okay, well, I can still walk the dog. I might not be able to get to the gym now, but who cares? I do my push-ups. So I walk the dog, get all that together, and now all of a sudden it's 6-ish. Still got to shower, still got to get ready. And I'm like, I already, in my mind, blocked off, I'm not going to make it to the gym. Even though I probably could have. But I'm cutting it close. And long story short, you don't have to go through the whole morning, but if I had the discipline to do the things that I didn't want to do, I didn't want to do the dishes. I didn't want to do the big ass pile of laundry. If I had the discipline to do those things and get the tough stuff done, I had these things called for work. I have to do like expense reports,
right?
And I saved them for that morning too. And I hate expense reports, but one of the things I realized is that if I just did it every single week instead of putting it off for like a whole month and doing it in one big shot, it would only take me about 10 minutes every time instead of an hour one time. Right. And but again, putting off the things that you don't want to do is undisciplined. Have the discipline and structure to do those, get them done. I know I have to scrub the bathroom. Just do it. Because the sooner you get done the things that you have to do, the sooner you can do the things you want to do. And I think a lot of people live their whole life and they avoid or try these life hacks or to everyone. And anyway, I think it's human nature is to try to simplify and get everything down to the easy least path of least resistance, Certainly. The easiest way to do something, and minimal, optimal, all that stuff. And I think that a lot of people in the process of doing that are putting off doing other things. They're like, oh, once I figure out how to do this quicker, easier way, then I'll be able to do something, or then I'll be able to have more time, or X, Y, Z. And at the end of the day, it has nothing to do with that. It's just you gotta be able to have the presence of mind to realize that doing the stuff you don't want to do you're that much closer to having freedom, right?
Certainly.
I know I gotta bust my ass at work, but if I bust my ass from like 9 o'clock to 1 o'clock, I could be done in the day and off and ready to start the weekend, right?
Yep.
But how good do you feel on a day when you don't go 100%? How good do you feel? Do you go home and hang your bag up and sit down and go, man, what a good day we're here. You know what? I kind of just went through the motions. You might not even think about it. You might not even reflect on the day. It might just not even happen. You kind of just roll by your way through. But I'll tell you what, on days when you kick ass and days when you do well, you feel really good. So revel in that, I feel like, because it comes from the discipline of getting the stuff done that you don't want to do and doing more of what you love doing, which is what you want to do. And I think that extreme ownership, that's the base, the presence of this book is the sooner you own something, the more disciplined you are, the more simpler you make ideas or strategies or, questions, commands. The faster you'll have success and the better success that you'll have. So
that's right.
That's a piece of it. I don't even really think that this is a success book. I don't think this is even a self-help or I honestly, when I look at this book, and I know this is something we talked about, and just look at the chapters, right? It's one, I'll go through step by step. Chapter 1, extreme ownership. 2, no bad teams, only bad leaders. 3, belief. 4, check the ego. 5, cover and move. 6, simple. 7, prioritize and execute. 8, decentralized command. 9, plan. 10, leading up and down the chain of command, which is what you touched on. 11, decisiveness and uncertainty. And 12, discipline equals freedom, which is what I harp on a lot. And obviously the Academy of Leadership. That's a reference book, Shadow.
Yeah.
I mean, you can literally go here and say, all right, what's going on at work today? So, what did we do? We're planning really well. Hey, what did Jocko say about planning? Let's go to plan real quick. Chapter 9, 195. Oh man, we're doing really good planning. Let's try to add this piece of planning because I think that can make us a little bit better.
Yeah.
Or, I need to get a better cover and move strategy. Part of my job, I cover the whole state of Michigan. Well, I can't be in the whole state of Michigan every single day, right? That's why I have an intern back in Radnor who makes phone calls, and he can be theoretically in the whole state of Michigan at any point in time, any day. So I'll cover and move strategies. Hey, I'm not going to be in an area, but I'm going to be there in a week. You call them now, get them excited, get them talking about things, get them working on stuff, and I'll come in and do the deal, or vice versa. But cover and move, that you can go to a chapter, any chapter in this book, I think, and use it as a reference to look through and say, give me an idea. You don't have to read this cover to cover. And that's what I love about this book. It's not, hey, here's how you be successful. It's not, hey, here's 5 quick easy tips to lose 40 pounds in 40 days. It's just, hey, here's a template that some of the best leaders in the world use.
Right.
If you like a piece of it, great. If you hate all of it and think that you're smarter, you might be. This works for them. And I like the job that they do. And I like the way that they carry themselves. I like the way that they talk about themselves. And I like that our country depends on these people. And if our country depending on them, I like to see how they like to lead each other, because it seems like that's a pretty important job.
Yeah, they've been doing it right as well. So why not? Why not? Keep going. I like
Why not?
So let's talk about discipline. The chapter "Discipline Equals Freedom," the dichotomy of leadership.
Don't get me started.
Don't get you started. So I really want to talk about what this whole dichotomy of leadership is. And if you ever listen to the Jocko podcast, there's not an episode that goes by that Jocko doesn't talk about the dichotomy of something. And so when I first read it, I didn't know what dichotomy meant. So for those that don't know, dichotomy is a division or contrast between two things that are represented as being opposed or entirely different. So it's two opposite things essentially. And everything, a lot of things have a dichotomy to it, and leadership is one of them. So the dichotomy of leadership. A leader must be confident but not cocky, courageous but not foolhardy, competitive but a gracious loser, attentive to details, but not obsessed by them, strong, but have endurance, a leader and a follower, humble, not passive, aggressive, not overbearing, quiet, not silent, calm, but not robotic, logical, but not devoid of emotion, close with troops, but not so close that one becomes more important than another, or more important than the good of the team, yet not so close they forget who is in charge. And lastly, able to execute extreme ownership while exercising decentralized command, which is something we'll talk about in a minute. A good leader has nothing to prove, but everything to prove. So that's it. That's the dichotomy of leadership. It's that all of these pieces have a contradictory side to them, and there's a balance between the two. And you might see yourself as just, oh, I'm just a confident person, but other people might see you as cocky, or some people might see you as, or you might see yourself as really strong and a really strong leader, but you can only do it for a short period of time, or you know, and if you tiptoe that line one way or the other, it's going to be really, you're either going to do a really good job and people are going to love you, or you're going to probably be resented a lot, but no one's going to say anything.
Right.
So that's when you need to be able to look at yourself and say, you know, what am I doing? How am I doing things? And if you fall one way or the other too much, it's not going to be good. The one that I really like is, like I said before, attentive to details but not obsessed by them. I think that's something that some people, like a micromanager, can just take way too far, and you know, you're going to lose a lot of trust within your staff, and things can fall apart. So
I'm with you, man.
Yeah.
Do you hear Rocky in the background?
Yeah, I hear him. He's
getting a little excited.
Yeah.
You're getting all pumped up talking about this.
That's right. That is exactly correct. He knows. We're teaching him young.
You got to start somewhere.
That's right.
All right, so how do you want to wrap this thing up? Where do you want to see, if you're listening to this?
Yes.
You know, what's my take home? You know, all right, we got the apple pie, we got the meal. What's the take home? What are you taking home here? What's one thing that you think from extreme ownership someone could start doing tomorrow or today? So it's early today, so we can start now.
Is that if you want to be successful, or if you want to become the strongest version of yourself, as per Elliot Hulse, or you want to just improve in whatever it is that you do, whether it's, you know, being a parent or a teacher or a student or whatever, is that the best way to do it is to look at yourself and to own every decision you make. And whether it's good or it's bad, no one's perfect. No one makes the right decision every single time. And if in those times of a bad decision, you have the strength and you have it within yourself to say, I messed up. I made this decision. This is why I made that decision. And I'm not going to make that decision again. And I'm going to learn from it. You're going to become better. The people you work with are going to become better. The people you take care of are going to become better. Everyone's going to respect you more. And you're going to grow as a human being. That's it. That's extreme ownership.
Preach it, brother.
So, what's your take home?
If given the opportunity today to own something or not own it, ask yourself before you do it, why? And be honest with yourself. Why aren't you owning it? Why don't you want to own it? And I think what you'll find is you'd rather be the person who owns it than doesn't own it. And when you hear yourself say, I don't want to own it because I'm afraid of what the other person will think. I'm not confident enough in my abilities to help them understand that it was a mistake. Or I'm not confident enough in my explanation or my understanding of the event or my understanding of the situation to help ease their nerves or ease their concerns and not fray this relationship. Oh, not only should you own the situation, but own the character and the person you are and expect that the other person is going to be sensible as well, because you can't do anything about that. You have no control of that. But I think you can easily control a situation by saying to yourself, I'm going to own it, and I'm going to be able to justify why I'm owning it. You know, I thought one of the best things that Jocko touched on, he never asked for anything. He just, hey, Jocko, you need anything? Nope, all set. Thanks, sir. Hey, Jocko, how's everything going? You good? Yep, all set. No problem, sir.
Yeah.
Anytime there was a problem, it was so easy for, hey, you know, we need more ammo, guys are getting killed, boom, 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 boom. Whatever the scenario was, he only asked for things when he absolutely needed it, and he got it immediately. I think it's crucial. Before you go and run the mom, can you do it? Can you fix it yourself?
That's right.
I think our generation lost a lot of that.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and I think that in this instant gratification, in this world of where we want to innovate and get faster, stronger, better, quicker, we're doubting our own abilities to to fix something and saying, oh, someone already invented something that's faster, stronger, better, quicker that can help me solve this problem. And we're not solving it for ourselves. And then when we get in situations that we do have to solve problems for ourselves, maybe like driving a car or in a conversation with somebody, or maybe giving a question and answer portion of a presentation, you get nervous and you panic because you doubt your confidence in yourself. And you doubt your ability to do something because you haven't practiced anymore. You stop practicing. Discipline, and I think Jocko talks about it. You know, this isn't everyday thing. This isn't, I'm going to be disciplined for a week, or I'm going to own things for a week. You do it every day. It's not something you even actively think about. It just happens. And, yeah, I'm getting off topic there a little bit, but.
Yeah. That's good. And that's what it is. That's what this book is all about. It's something that has really impacted me. I've read the book probably 1.5 times. You know, I read it straight the first time.
Give him the half.
And now, you know, it's something that I refer back to. It's the Jocko podcast is the best podcast on iTunes. There's nothing better. He puts out an episode every week, and it just doesn't get any better. So if it's something that you don't listen to, you need to. If Extreme Ownership is not a book you already have, you need to get it and you need to read it. And just keep rolling. And if there's somebody to really, you want to be on their side, I want to be on Jocko's side. And I want to do everything that he does because he does it the right way.
And on that, go do.
All right, everybody. So thanks for listening again this week. We'll be back in a couple weeks with another episode. You can reach out to us, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, at Mike Chavone, or what's yours, D-Fran?
At MDFran.
At MDFran. We also have an email address, podcastgood@gmail.com, if you want to email questions or comments or you guys suck or whatever. We'll take the criticism. Yeah, thanks for listening. Hope you like it. And this has been Good, the podcast for those who do.